Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Cairnsology. Following on from our previous episode with Sandology, today we're going to be looking at Cairns moving coastlines. Today we're looking at DEA coastlines. It's a part of the Digital Earth Australia product, which is a part of the Geoscience Australia. It looks at the annual coastline change, plots it on a map year by year, which is derived from the satellite data with tidal modelling all the way from 1988 through to 2021. Before we get in and look at the data set around Cairns, I just want to point out that this is although a very good data set, it is a very small snapshot in time. 1988 through to 2021 is a small time geologically, and for sand to move, we see fluctuations happen on a yearly basis, a decade, 100 years, 1,000 years through to a millennia. So let's go and have a look at the Trinity Inlet. Let's start at the Cairns Esplanade, where we're all familiar with. As you can see, there's been quite a bit of change here. This has been largely due to the Cairns Esplanade redevelopment and land reclamation. So it's probably a little bit inaccurate, the data through here, but let's continue along the coast and have a bit better look. Now these are pretty interesting along here. These little dots along here, we can see there's a spike there, and a spike there. But if you actually line it up, we've got streets through here. So these are probably the result of actual sedimentation being supplied from the stormwater coming out onto the beach and impacting these drainage as the Cairns Esplanade's been redeveloped since 1988. Big one here by the looks. Go and look a bit more up towards the river mouth and around the airport. So here we can see around the river mouth, Barron River mouth, there's been quite a bit of fluctuation here. And this is obviously due to as I explained in the episode 1, lots of different influences here from longshore drift, cyclones, different sedimentation coming out of the Barron River, and some of that flowing back towards the Esplanade here. We've got a bit of a growing spit here by the looks. So let's zoom in and have a look at Machen's Beach. So towards the south end here, down towards the river mouth, looks like there's been largely more sediments and sand being able to store it along the beach. And as we go further north towards O'Shea's pub on the Esplanade, we can probably see here, since the Rockwall redevelopment, there has actually been a little bit more sediment, a bit more of a beach established along this part of the world. Now we'll have a look at Holloways. So a bit of a different story here. We can see that 1990, the beach was all the way out here, and it's slowly been retreating backwards, back towards a very small beach, unfortunately. Let's see, keep looking further north towards Yorkies. It's a very similar sort of story all the way along here. Largely a transgressive sort of sequence of erosion of the beach. Looking at Yorkies Knob, it's a bit of a different story here. We can see a bit more of an aggressive sequence here with more sand, largely for many of the years being deposited at Yorkies. Now there's probably a couple of factors here causing this. One, which I'll go into in another video, is that eventually the Barron River, there are studies to believe that the river mouth will deviate at some point in the future, not knowing whether it be in the coming years or 100 years or several hundred years, but there is enough load on the Barron River to believe that the Richter's Creek will become the river mouth at some point. So there could be an increase of sand load coming out of Richter's Creek, starving the actual river mouth currently and feeding out here and depositing onto the beach. That could be one factor for extra sand on the beach. I'm led to believe that the City Council also tops up beaches around Yorkies Knob. I'm not sure if it's on the southern side or the northern side, but I believe that there has been trucking of some sand into the area. We can see through Yorkies Knob quite a bit of fluctuating sand through this part of the world as well. Looking at Trinity Beach, Quira Beach and Palm Cove, there's a bit of a natural sort of story here. Again, it's a very small data set, but we can see largely a spread of fluctuations here over a number of years along the beach at Trinity. And the story is consistent as we go into Quira Beach as well and up to Palm Cove. So we can see there's no really consistent trend here. Consistently inconsistent, one could say. Just some final observations before we close this video. There's 2 years that stick out for being particularly good, not the best years, but 2 particularly good years for sedimentation. 2011, 2012. It doesn't matter where you are along the coastline, they seem to be consistently good years for beaches. So it doesn't matter whether you're in the south or the north. Consistently good years. Why do you reckon that is?